In the last class, we saw about the somatic embryogenesis development. We learned first the definition of what is somatic embryogenesis, and we know that it is because of the totipotency of the plants that we are able to do so many things of variations efficiently in the laboratory. And also, we saw that we can produce the embryos from the somatic cell. It is really a wow factor because producing embryo from somatic cell is really something amazing, right? And you say you can produce it by a direct method or indirect method. And remember, if it is a direct method, your end product is usually a um, what micro propagation. When you go for indirect method, you can use it for variation. For any variation you want to develop in that embryo, you can go for it. And we also saw that there is no difference between a zygotic and somatic embryogenesis, the way in they develop all the four stages. And we told they are bipolar. And what is more critically important is our growth regulators, what we are using, the environmental condition we are providing, whether the it needs different types of amino acids, the polyamines. All this we saw the importance of it, and only then we can get the required product, that is a somatic embryogenesis. And we told that it is not only these your physical parameters or your nutritions what you're providing. Not only this, the what to say, the DNA, the post translation mechanism, the methylation, the protein protein interaction, and the how they interact. These organs are what? Hormones, right? So, like in humans, how the hormones and the DNA interact. Like similarly, there also you can see the organs interacting with the DNA. Apart, we saw that how the environmental also is playing an important role, the various genes which play an important role in the somatic embryogenesis. And we saw the drawback that whatever the seeds they produce, it is weak. But in order to produce a healthy seeds, we have to bring about certain modification like desiccation or treatment with abscisic acid and so on and so forth. Now, without much delaying our topic, we should look into the application of the somatic embryogenesis. So, somatic embryos can be used for synthesis of synthetic seeds or as a source of regenerable protoplast. Now, synthetic seed and protoplast, we have not dealt with it, but do remember that somatic embryogenesis can be used in the production of the synthetic seed, okay, like the artificial seeds. Now, look, there are at least 500 species from which we have developed the somatic embryogenesis, which means to tell that you can get five from 500 species. You can undergo somoclonal variation. You can provide more what clonal propagation. Everything is available from this. The protocols has been standardized for this. And remember one point: you have a tissue culture lab, and you're doing all your tissue culture there. What in the previous classes we told, after the plants have started developing, what you should do, you should see them, they are put into an environment wherein they can withstand the natural environment, okay, the natural harshness is what they are not going to face in future. They should be prepared for that. That is how, why we go for the hardening and acclimatization. Where do you do this? You do it this in a field which is attached to your laboratory, plant tissue culture laboratory. You cannot just take the plant from the glassware and just give it to the farmers or any other producers. So you develop the plant. You can't do it. You have to have a field wherein you grow the plant under the controlled conditions, and then slowly bring it to your substations where there they can develop into it, to the natural condition. Only when you find success that they are able to grow in the field, only then you can propagate this plant more and give them to your farmers or whatever whoever is who requires this plant. Unless until then you cannot give these somatic embryogenesis or any of the tissue culture without undergoing any screening test. First the screening should be done. What was your objective? Did that objective met? If it was not met, it is not fit for commercialization. Okay. So somoclo and synthetic. That's what like, and also you see that you develop this plant in greenhouse. It is grown well. Now what you have to do? You have to bring it to the areas, supply them wherever it is required, to whichever people it is required, the farmers or horticulturists or floriculturists, whoever maybe they are. You have to supply that. And what it involves? It involves transportation. You have developed so many plants in your tissue culture laboratory, and you have produced the same plant in your greenhouse, and so many plants should be transported to a particular area. So instead of that doing that, I can produce synthetic seed, this artificial seed. I can, excuse me, I can take the embryos, encapsulate them in alginate beads, and then it will be easy for me to transport them. So somoclonal variants can be obtained by regenerating plants by indirect organogenesis involving callus proliferation and differentiation of embryonic cells from the callus. Somatic embryogenesis may be used for rapid propagation of economically important plants by multiplying germplasm that is initially present as embryonic material. So, certain plants are economically very important. Either they may be having some medicinal property, or they'll be having some other like production of some secondary metabolites or primary metabolites, which are all important. That is economically important plant. So what happens is, you, as I told in my earlier class also, you can't take the entire plant and tree and grow it, put it into your gene bank. No, it is not at all possible. Okay. And so these plants should be protected, because they have some medicinal values, they are economically important. Okay. The gums what they produce, the resins what they produce, the waxes what they produce, the flavors what they produce, everything is important. So you have to protect them. So what will I do? I keep them. I told you that I will keep them in as a germ plasma in the gene bank. I can keep it as a callus culture, right? And after that, whenever I want, I can go to the gene bank, I can retrieve it, and I can grow it. So, this is another important feature of your somatic embryogenesis. Somatic embryos have been used for the elimination of viruses and certain plant species. This is also an important point, because you see, for example, banana. I told you the banana cultivation has increased in many folds in our country, not because of this somatic embryogenesis or anything else. Usually, we grow it by the axillary buds, that is your suckers. You know that banana suckers, you use that and you grow that. But you see, the suckers in the bananas, what no, they are in the soil, and you remove that suckers and you plant it again. They grow. Now what is happening? Is the soil free of microorganism? No. Certain microorganisms will have lot of affinity to certain type of plant. For example, the fusarium has lot of affinity to your banana plant. So when you're growing that sucker, along with that, the fusarium will grow, and it can lead to the contamination or the infection of your banana plant, and ultimately it is an economical loss. You have to destroy the plant. so that you prevent their spreading. So in future, what we can do, we can use the somatic embryos to develop the banana plant, right? I can use the indirect embryogenesis, wherein I can induce the mutation in the callus such that the fusarium doesn't go and inhabit my banana plant. So once I get that mutant variety, okay, I can put it into the germplasm, and whenever whoever wants that, we can develop the germplasm into a whole plant in our laboratory, and we can give them to the farmers. So this is a very good idea, and it will be a really a boon with for the farmers and the other cultivars. And also, another example is that these oranges have few seed, okay, or sometimes they don't have seed at all. This is originated from the natural mutation. So natural mutation, that is in the nature, there occurred mutation in the oranges, and what happened was there was very few seeds in the oranges in some breeds of oranges, and in some they not have any seeds at all. So now what you will do, you have identified a plant which is not having seed or it is having very few seed. You will retrieve that plant and try to grow them by using what? This technique you can use the somatic embryogenesis, and you can grow them. Okay? Then what happens? You can micropropagate them and you can get so many seedless plant. So somatic embryogenesis may also serve as a source for genetic transformation. So if I want to do any genetic transformation, I can do the transformation in the embryos which I obtained by somatic cells, right? And so the embryos can be employed to form synthetic seed. Your cost of transportation will come down, okay? And many other things you have seen, your orange plant or your orange tree or your banana plant. It is really a very good advantages. But as there is advantages, we see there is lot of limitations also. Somatic embryo maturation and conversion is difficult in many species, and it is critical to the practical utilization of somatic embryogenesis. Now you have seen so many process which is going on. How much of labor, skilled labors are required, how much money you have to invest in these, the time period which is taking, okay, that is, you have whatever you have decided a particular trait, you have to develop that trait. And if anywhere in your experiment goes wrong, it is ultimately everything is waste. Okay, the manpower what is going on in this is tremendous, because each and every step you should be into it, follow it, that it happens in the correct way. So, see, I told you there are more than 500 species protocols have been developed, but still you see some of the species we are not able to produce any protocols. There is severe failure in the experiments. For example, the date palm. We are trying to grow this date palm in our country. It is still a problem because we are exporting it. Okay, we can't produce. We don't have the protocol which are efficient. So what happens? Still they are recalcitrant. When they are recalcitrant, we are unable to produce. That is, recalcitrant means I thought they cannot withstand the laboratory harsh conditions what we are providing. Though it is not harsh conditions, but they are not. They feel that there is too much of stress in them which they can't tolerate. Okay, so this is another drawback, because we are trying in so many, the plant tissue culture labs are trying in all many other species, but still the results are not satisfactory, or it is back to pavilion zero. Occurrence of somoclonal variation in indirect somatic embryogenesis may limit its application in micropropagation. So, whenever there occurs a variation, okay, you cannot go for micropropagation. It is a limiting factor because in micropropagation is nothing but a clonal propagation. If I have a plant, I want all the plants to be like same as my mother plant. Okay, if I have 100 of A1 to A100, they should all resemble the A plant. But if there is a somoclonal variation when you're developing indirect somatic embryogenesis, obviously this is a drawback. You cannot propagate the plant. Somatic embryos, okay, quality is often poor and field conversion frequency are generally low. That is, I told you, because they develop weak embryo, and it is the field conversion, that is you have to whatever you're doing in the laboratory, when you bring the same plant into the greenhouse, it is unable to withstand the natural environment. So whatever the number, that is the frequency you're developing, are low. Large scale production of somatic embryo is difficult process. So we cannot simply go for mutation. Mutation is suitable for cloning but not good for some variation. Okay. So theoretically we say that cells can multiply indefinitely without loss of morphogenetic changes. But in practice, that is all theoretical. Okay, theoretically, whatever we have spoken is fine. It is like, indeed, it is like you're in cloud seven. We can do so many things theoretically. But when it comes to practical, what is the conversion rate? If you say theoretically 90%, you're practically you will be getting 40%, 30%, or nothing. It is not that easy. Okay? So, and because at each stages they may be lost, the callus cells loses the ability to form embryo, and many times we get abnormal shoot. So that is why large scale production of somatic embryo is difficult. Then high probability of mutations. I don't want mutation, I don't want variations, but still these things happen. Naturally it happens. So losing regenerative capacity becomes greater with repeated subculture. So we what we are telling that we have to go for subculturing. Otherwise, what happens? It there will be chromosomal instability. But sometimes what is happening? We are losing the regenerative capacity. So you are in the middle of the sword, not that side, not this side. You have to go for subculturing, or shouldn't you go for subculturing? Because losing regenerative capacity becomes greater with repeated subculture. So that is what in previous classes also I stressed, that how many times you have to subculture. Only that much you have to do, not keep on subculturing. You have to standardize those protocols also. Induction of embryogenesis is very difficult with many plant species. I told you date palms. We are trying for m- many times it has been tried and it has resulted in very poor development. A deep dormancy often occurs with somatic embryogenesis. We want the plants to be developed soon, but sometimes what happens? A deep dormancy is formed. Either they germinate very fast and give you a weak seed, otherwise, the length of dormancy, the length of germination is such a long period. Can you wait for such a long period? What is our aim of somatic embryogenesis or any what tissue culture? You try to provide as soon as possible with all the qualities in it. But here it is opposite. So you saw these were some of the applications and some of the limitations of your somatic embryogenesis. So with this, we come to the end of the class on somatic embryogenesis.